Imagine for a moment that the key to success, influence, and deep human connection is not a matter of luck or innate charm, but a craft, an art and a science that you can learn and master. Picture yourself stepping into a room full of people. Almost immediately, you feel an invisible current pulling you towards a certain individual. You can't quite explain why, but something about them captivates you. Perhaps it's in the easy confidence of their posture, the gentle warmth shining in their eyes, or the calm assurance woven through their voice. They are not the loudest person present, not necessarily the most famous or outwardly striking, yet they command attention without a word. They exude a presence that invites you in, making you want to listen, to engage, to simply be near them. Now, imagine the opposite. You meet someone who on the surface seems perfectly polite and pleasant. They say all the right things and do nothing obviously wrong, and yet, within minutes of parting ways, they fade from your memory. Their words were correct but sparked no feeling. Their face was unremarkable, leaving no lasting imprint on your mind or heart. They were, in a word, forgettable, like a brief, bland breeze that touches your skin and is gone, leaving no trace. We have all encountered these two types of people, the ones who light up a space and linger in our thoughts, and those who blend into the background of memory. This journey you are embarking on now is about ensuring you become the former, not the latter. It is about discovering how to shape the intangible space between yourself and others in such a way that you will never be easily forgotten. Because the truth is, success in life, in business, in love, in community, so often comes down to who connects with you, who believes in you, who is willing to go the extra mile for you. Knowledge and talent carry you only so far. It is your ability to connect with people that elevates you to your highest potential. Think of any great leader, beloved teacher, or inspiring friend you've known. What likely set them apart was not just what they knew or achieved, but how they made others feel. Perhaps it was a manager who took the time to listen to your ideas, making you feel valued, or a friend whose unwavering encouragement gave you the confidence to pursue a dream. Those people likely stand out in your memory, not because of any technical expertise or material gift, but because of the way they connected with you on a human level. The greatest visionaries and influencers throughout history understood a simple secret. Human connection is not mere chance. It's something we can cultivate with intention and understanding. Charisma, influence, empathy. These are not fixed traits bestowed at birth, but living skills that grow with practice and awareness. And crucially, learning these skills doesn't mean putting on an act or manipulating others. It's not about slick tricks or false charm. On the contrary, it's about amplifying genuine sincerity and empathy. True connection cannot be forced or faked. It blossoms naturally when you commit to understanding and caring about those around you. What you are really mastering is how to let your best self shine and how to truly see the best in others. From the moment we are born, we are wired for connection. A baby grasps a finger and coos when they feel a loving presence. We are social creatures down to our cells and synapses. No matter how independent or introverted one might be, The need to be seen, heard, and valued runs like a river through the core of our being. No one is an island, as the old saying reminds us. We live in an ocean of connection, each of us part of the whole. Every friendship, every act of understanding is a thread woven into the tapestry of human experience, binding us together. Time and again, studies on human happiness reveal that it isn't wealth or fame or youth that keep us fulfilled. It is the quality of our relationships. It is that sense of belonging, of mutual trust and understanding. Yet, paradoxically, in an age of constant online connectivity, many people feel more alone than ever. Superficial interactions, likes, follows, fleeting texts, cannot satisfy the fundamental human hunger for real presence and understanding. This is why mastering the art of true connection is perhaps more important now than at any time before. We thrive when we feel understood and accepted, and we wither in isolation. Connection is not a luxury or an afterthought. It is fundamental to a meaningful life. It is the foundation upon which every joy, every achievement gains greater depth and purpose. When you learn to master the art of authentic connection, something almost magical happens. People naturally gravitate toward you. They feel when someone genuinely cares, when someone is truly present with them. In return, they begin to care for you and your success. They remember you, they trust you, and they find themselves eager to support you, often in ways you might never have anticipated. Your influence grows, not because you demand it, but because others willingly grant it. They want to be around you and to follow your lead, drawn by an invisible magnetism. This is the quiet power of connection at work, influence born not from force or manipulation, but from understanding and resonance. Yet, for all its importance, most of us are never explicitly taught how to connect deeply. We stumble through our social lives on instinct, picking up fragments of insight here and there. We assume that being good with people is a gift for the lucky few, or a talent reserved for extroverts and social butterflies. How often have you heard someone say, "I'm just not a people person," as if meaningful connection were out of reach for them? But the reality is far different. Every conversation, every glance, every smile follows certain patterns, currents of psychology and emotion flowing beneath the surface, and once you learn to see those patterns, you can guide them to become the architect of your interactions. So, if connection is both an art and a science, what are its building blocks? How do we begin to become a true social architect, designing a life rich with trust, resonance, and unforgettable bonds? The journey begins where all deep connection starts, with presence. Presence is a simple word for a profound state of being. To have presence means to fully occupy the moment you are in, with your body, your mind, and your heart aligned and attentive. It is more than just physically being somewhere. It is the quality of consciousness you bring to that place and time. Think of moments when you've been with someone whose attention was wholeheartedly on you. You could feel it, an almost tangible focus, as if for that span of time the rest of the world fell away. In their eyes you saw a gentle alertness, a receptive calm that told you they were here with you, not judging, not distracted by the past or the future. That feeling is the gift of true presence. In contrast, consider how it feels when someone you're talking to keeps glancing at their phone, or their eyes flicker around the room seeking another diversion. Their body might be only a few feet away, but their mind is miles from the conversation. You sense an emptiness in those interactions, a subtle impatience or disconnect. When someone is absent in that way, it's as if a part of them is missing, and you feel it immediately. We are remarkably sensitive to presence. We notice it even if we can't always articulate what we're sensing. Just as a flower turns toward the sun, people naturally lean into the warmth of presence and retreat from the chill of inattentiveness. True presence carries a quiet power. It's the power of a centered and open heart, a mind unclouded by the next thing to say or do. In presence there is patience, there is a listening silence, even before a word is spoken. Ancient wisdom traditions knew this well. In Zen monasteries, novice monks are often taught to pour tea or sweep the floor with complete attention as a form of meditation. The task is simple, but the practice is profound. To learn how to be fully here. When the mind learns to rest in the now, even mundane acts become sacred. And when you bring that quality of attention into your interactions with others, it transforms the space between you. Imagine an old sage sitting beneath a great oak tree, his eyes soft but piercing in their serenity. A restless young student comes to him, seeking answers to a burdened heart. But instead of speaking immediately, the sage simply presents his full attention. He listens with every fiber of his being, the rustling leaves and distant bird songs only enhancing the stillness he radiates. In that profound silence, the student begins to hear his own true questions emerge, guided by the calm of the sage's presence. Only after a long pause does the sage offer a few gentle words, and those words, carried on the current of deep presence, cut straight to the heart of the matter. This old parable holds a timeless lesson. Real presence can be more influential than 1,000 eloquent speeches. Often, it is not the volume of what we say, but the energy with which we abide in the moment that resonates most with others. Cultivating presence in our busy modern lives is an act of courage and intention. The world around us buzzes with endless distractions. Notifications, headlines, the pressure to move quickly from one thing to the next. Choosing presence often means gently closing the door on those distractions. But here lies a beautiful paradox. By slowing down and truly arriving in each moment, you actually gain time. How? Because a moment of pure presence can accomplish what scattered hours cannot. A conversation where two people truly meet, without masks, without their minds wandering, can forge a bond of trust in minutes. In such moments, time seems to stretch, filled to the brim with meaning. The listener feels truly seen and heard. The speaker feels valued. Both leave that exchange enriched, even if it was brief. Presence begins in the body and the breath. Feel the weight of your feet on the ground when you stand with someone. Feel the rhythm of your breathing and allow it to steady you. Something as simple as taking a slow, conscious breath before you greet someone can center your mind and signal to your very being, I am here now. Your body language follows suit naturally when your mind is present. Your eyes meet theirs steadily and kindly. You face them fully rather than angling away. You nod slightly, not as a mere social reflex, but in genuine response to what you hear. These small physical signals speak volumes. They whisper, I am with you, without a single word. Remember, people often form an impression of you within the first few moments of meeting. When you greet someone with your full presence, meeting their gaze, giving a genuine smile, standing at ease, you're conveying from the very start, I see you and I'm glad to be here. That feeling lands before any words are exchanged. It opens the door to a smoother, more trusting interaction right from the outset. It's important to realize that presence is not a performance. It isn't about fixing your gaze intensely or hovering uncomfortably close under the guise of paying attention. True presence is relaxed and unforced, like a calm lake that effortlessly reflects the sky because it is still. If you push too hard, trying to appear attentive while internally fretting over what the other person thinks of you, your tension will betray you. Real presence comes from a place of ease and sincerity. It stems from genuinely caring about the moment you're in and the person you're with. Instead of thinking about what happened earlier or what might come later, you choose to give the fun gift of your undivided attention to here and now. When you offer that gift, people sense it instinctively. They may not consciously note, how present this person is, but they will feel more comfortable, more drawn to open up. Have you ever felt strangely at peace around someone, even if you just met? Often it's because that person is quietly present, creating a safe space around them in which others can simply be. In their company, you feel a gentle invitation to relax your own guard, because you sense they are not judging you or impatiently waiting for you to finish speaking. This aura of presence is the soil where real connection grows. In the fertile ground of attentive awareness, trust takes root and flowers. Presence is the foundation of all the other elements of deep connection. It lays the groundwork upon which empathy, understanding, and influence can be built. Without presence, the most eloquent words may fall flat, and the most thoughtful intentions can go unnoticed. With presence, even silence speaks volumes. A moment of true presence can say, I care, I am here with you, you matter. And isn't that what every soul longs to hear? By cultivating presence, you begin to master the art of making others feel seen. In doing so, you yourself start to feel more connected, not only to others but also to life itself. As each moment becomes more vivid and rich, you become the calm in the crowd, a steady flame in the midst of flickering distractions. And it is in this calm and attentive state that the next step in powerful connection naturally unfolds. The art of listening. Listening, truly listening, is an act of devotion. It is far more than the passive act of hearing words enter your ears. Hearing is a physical process. Sound waves collide with your eardrums and your brain registers noise. Listening, however, is a conscious choice. It is a giving of your full attention and presence to understand another soul's communication both the words spoken and the emotions and intentions that lie beneath those words. In a world where everyone seems eager to speak, to broadcast their own thoughts, genuine listening has become something of a rare art. When you encounter it, it can feel as nourishing as rain in a desert. Consider how it feels when someone truly listens to you. They aren't impatiently waiting for their turn to talk. They aren't checking their watch or formulating a response in their head before you've finished your sentence. Instead, they are quiet, not just outwardly but internally, receptive to every nuance of your expression. Their eyes might soften with understanding, or they might nod gently in encouragement as you search for the right words. In their silence, there is an active energy. You can sense that they are with you, walking through your story as you tell it. In such moments, you feel safe to open up. You feel respected, valued, and understood. That feeling is a profound gift. It unburdens the heart and forges a powerful bond between speaker and listener. Sadly, such moments are all too rare. How many conversations in daily life are like two intersecting monologues, each person merely waiting for a pause to insert their own story or opinion? So often, what passes for listening is just polite waiting. Our minds dart ahead, rehearsing our next reply or drifting to unrelated thoughts, while the other person's words wash over the surface of our awareness. We might catch the literal meaning, but miss the emotional significance, and thus, the golden opportunity for connection slips by. In an era of constant notifications and digital chatter, genuine listening is more precious than ever. Many of us are inundated with voices and information all day, yet starved for true understanding. The irony of our connected age is that it often leaves people feeling more isolated, precisely because authentic attention is so scarce. To listen deeply is to listen with the heart, not just the ears. There's an old saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Ancient cultures understood the sacredness of listening. In some native traditions, a council would pass around a talking stick. Only the person holding the stick could speak, and everyone else would remain silent, giving their complete attention. The purpose was not just to enforce order, but to instill respect for the speaker's voice and story. When one person spoke, the others were not merely waiting their turn, they were absorbing the shared truth of the moment. Imagine a circle of people under the night sky, firelight dancing in their eyes as they listen to one of their own speak from the heart. In that circle, listening was an act of community, of unity. No one was left unheard. Real listening requires a kind of humility. It asks you to set aside your own agenda, your judgments, and your eagerness to prove a point or offer advice. It invites you to enter the world of another, if only briefly, and see through their eyes. This doesn't mean you lose yourself or agree with everything said. It simply means you are willing to be fully present for someone else's experience. In doing so, you validate their reality. You acknowledge, I hear you, your words and feelings matter, and sometimes that acknowledgement alone is enough to ease another's loneliness or pain. There is great power in being this kind of listener. Paradoxically, by speaking less and listening more, you become more influential. People are drawn to those who make them feel heard. We often think we have to dazzle others with witty stories or impressive knowledge to be memorable. But think of the people you feel most comfortable around, the ones you seek out when you're troubled or excited. Are they the ones who always dominate the conversation, or are they the ones who take the time to listen, who make you feel truly understood? There is an old tale of a wise king who would disguise himself as a common traveller and wander among his people in the marketplace. Hidden beneath a simple cloak, he would pause to listen to merchants, farmers, and families talk about their lives. He offered no grand speeches in those moments, no royal pronouncements, only his attentive ear and kind words if someone spoke to him. Through these humble listening journeys, the king gathered the true pulse of his kingdom. He heard the joys and sorrows of his people, their hopes and their grievances in their own honest voices. And because he listened, he became beloved. His subjects said the king's greatest power was not on the battlefield or throne, but in the quiet way he heard and understood even the lowliest among them. Such is the power of listening. It bridges worlds that might otherwise remain separate. When you develop the art of listening, you may find that others start to open up to you more readily. You become a confidant, someone they trust with their unedited thoughts and raw feelings. You might find a colleague lingering at your desk sharing their concerns because they know you won't dismiss them, or a friend calling you late at night knowing you will hold a compassionate silence for them to pour out their heart. These moments are not burdens, they are profound privileges. To be trusted with someone's truth is an honor, and it is also the gateway to influence. For once someone feels genuinely understood by you, they naturally become more open to your thoughts and perspectives as well. To listen well, engage not only your ears but also your intuition and empathy. Pay attention to tone, to pauses, to the things not explicitly said. Often, the heart of a message lies between the lines, in a sigh, a tremble of the voice, or a long silence that speaks volumes. If you sense those undercurrents, gently invite them forth. Sometimes a simple, gentle question can unlock deeper layers. It sounds like that was really important to you, or I sense this topic brings up some strong feelings, am I right? Such questions, asked with genuine curiosity and kindness, can let the other person know that you're not just listening to the words, but also to the music beneath them. One of the quiet skills of exceptional listeners is the ability to be comfortable with silence. In conversation, silence often makes people nervous. They rush to fill every gap, fearing that a pause means the connection is breaking. But a thoughtful silence can be the best listener's tool. It gives the speaker space to reflect and delve deeper, to feel that you are not rushing them, that you are there, patient and open. In that space, something magical happens. People often find clarity in their own thoughts, or they reveal something they hadn't planned to share, simply because you made room for it. It's worth reflecting on the times you yourself have felt truly heard. Those moments shine in memory. Perhaps it was late one night, speaking with a close friend who listened as you poured out a worry you'd been carrying. Or a parent or mentor who sat with you in a difficult moment, their steady, quiet presence giving you strength. Those moments likely felt almost healing. That is the power you hold when you listen deeply to someone else. You offer a kind of healing, an affirmation of their worth. In doing so, you also heal parts of yourself, because to connect with another in that way is to remind your own soul that it is also not alone. As you cultivate this quality, you might notice subtle changes in how people respond to you. Conversations will deepen. Superficial chatter might give way to meaningful dialogue when people realize you are a safe harbor for their thoughts. Even in brief encounters, you can practice being fully present and listening, perhaps with a stranger at a bus stop who just needs a kind ear for a minute. These small acts ripple outward, creating a world a little less lonely, one interaction at a time. Listening, in truth, is love in action. It is empathy made audible. By mastering the art of listening, you amplify the impact of your presence. You transform yourself into a receiver, finely tuned to the frequency of others' hearts. And from this attunement arises the natural next element of powerful connection, genuine emotional awareness and empathy. To connect deeply with another, it is not enough to hear their words. You must also sense their feelings. This is the realm of emotional awareness and empathy. It's like learning to read a rich, unspoken language, the subtle tremor in a voice that betrays anxiety, the faint light in the eyes that accompanies genuine joy, the way shoulders slump under the weight of unspoken sorrow. When you attune yourself to these quiet signals, you are tuning in to the emotional frequency on which true human connection broadcasts. Empathy is often described as putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but in truth it's even more intimate. It is feeling with someone, allowing their emotion to echo within you so you can understand it from the inside. Think of two musical instruments set side by side. Strike a note on one, and the other will vibrate in harmony if they are in tune. Similarly, when your heart is open and attuned, the laughter or pain of another can resonate within you. You might feel a warmth in your chest when a friend describes a triumph as if it were your own victory, or a heaviness when they confess their fears as if their burden momentarily rests in you as well. This resonance is empathy, a bridge from one heart to another. This ability to resonate is something we are all born with. Even as infants, we cried when we heard other babies cry, not out of personal pain, but because we sensed the distress of another being, and it stirred an answering feeling in us. As adults, we sometimes hide or numb this natural empathy, perhaps out of self-protection or because the world tells us to toughen up. But the truth is, our capacity to feel with others is one of our greatest strengths. It is the basis of compassion, kindness, and all the social bonds that uplift and comfort us. Emotional awareness begins with self-awareness. To truly understand the emotions of others, you must become familiar with your own inner landscape. Imagine trying to read the weather in someone else's sky when you are caught in a storm of your own. If you are unaware of your own anger, fear, or sadness, those feelings can cloud your perception. You might misinterpret someone's words because your own emotion acts like a filter, coloring everything you see. That's why part of mastering empathy is learning to recognize and name your own emotions without judgment. When you feel a swell of anger, acknowledge it. I am feeling anger right now. And take a breath. When you notice anxiety fluttering in your stomach, don't shove it aside. gently note it and let it be. By doing so, you become the calm observer of your emotions rather than a helpless passenger. This self-awareness creates an inner steadiness, like the eye at the center of a hurricane, from which you can then extend understanding to others. Now, with a clearer heart and mind, you can better sense what others might be feeling. Pay attention, as you have been, to their tone of voice and body language, but also use your imagination compassionately. Ask yourself, if I were in their situation, how might I feel? When listening to someone's story, silently step into it as if it were your own life for a moment. How would you feel wearing their experiences? It's not a perfect method. No one can ever know exactly what another feels, but the effort alone is transformative. It shifts your focus from how does this affect me to what is this person going through? And that change in perspective is the essence of empathy. Being emotionally aware also means recognizing the shared humanity in every encounter. The person in front of you, whether a lifelong friend or a stranger serving you coffee, has a world of emotions inside them as rich and real as yours. They have known joy, pain, longing, and hope. When you remember this, compassion flows more freely. You might find yourself softening in situations where previously you might have judged harshly. The frustrated customer yelling at the clerk might actually be a person having an awful day, feeling unseen and desperate. The co-worker who withdraws and seems cold may be grappling with private grief or anxiety. Emotional awareness allows you to look beyond surface behavior and see the vulnerable emotions that often drive it. There is a quiet power in simply acknowledging someone's feelings. Sometimes saying, "I can see this is really upsetting you," or "I imagine you must be feeling pretty happy right now," can validate their inner experience and deepen the bond between you. It shows that you not only heard their words, but also perceived the feeling behind them. Often this kind of acknowledgement can diffuse tension and foster trust. The person feels, wow, they get it. They understand how I feel. And in that understanding, a connection is strengthened. Empathy does not mean you must take on others' emotions as your own burden. Think of it like being a mirror rather than a sponge. A mirror reflects truly what is there. It doesn't absorb and keep the emotions, but it lets the person see themselves more clearly. When you empathize, you reflect back understanding. You might feel a bit of their sorrow or excitement in the moment, but you do so from a place of stability and care. This distinction is important, for maintaining healthy boundaries ensures your empathy remains a gift rather than becoming overwhelming. In fact, sometimes true empathy means providing a balancing energy. If someone is panicked, your empathetic understanding might tell you that what they need most is your calm reassurance. If they are distraught, they may be silently begging for the steady presence of a friend who can say, "I'm here with you," without falling apart. By staying centered, you become a safe anchor for them, ensuring that your empathy supports rather than overwhelms. Many wise leaders and healers have possessed this gift of empathy in abundance. It's said that some ancient healers could feel a patient's ailment in their own body, guiding them to the source of the pain. In more recent history, great leaders have been those who could tap into the feelings of their people. Consider that Abraham Lincoln was famed not just for his words, but for his compassionate heart. Stories tell of him visiting hospitals to hold soldiers' hands and weep with them. Such leaders understood that logic and reason alone do not move human beings. Our emotions are the currents that carry us, and to influence or guide others, you must speak to those currents as much as to the rational mind. Just as presence and listening create a space for connection, empathy fills that space with understanding. It is often the warmth that others feel in your presence, that sense that you get them. At a deeper level, have you ever had someone finish a sentence for you, or express exactly what you were feeling but couldn't put into words? That delightful relief, that yes, exactly moment, is the spark of emotional resonance. It lights up the trust between you and that person. With emotional awareness, you become adept at striking that spark for others. You sense what they struggle to say, or you feel what they hope someone will notice. When you then respond, or simply show through your eyes and posture that you do notice, you become that rare person who can share a moment of truth with them. Equally, they begin to sense that you are willing to share your own feelings when the moment is right. There is a special trust that forms when someone reveals a piece of their inner world to us. It's an invitation saying, "I trust you with this." By allowing yourself to be seen, whether it's admitting you've had a similar fear or expressing heartfelt gratitude or joy, you give a gift of authenticity. This kind of vulnerability, met with empathy, often becomes the glue that strengthens a bond. It reassures the other person that the understanding goes both ways and that the connection is mutual and real. In developing this empathy, you might find that the world becomes more vivid. You notice more. The elderly man on the park bench who seems a little lonely, the excitement radiating from a child holding a new toy, the subtle fatigue in your co-worker's smile, and as you notice, you naturally respond with more kindness and patience. Your connections deepen because people sense you understand them. They may not know why they feel so comfortable around you, but it's often because on an unseen level, their heart recognizes a kindred spirit, someone who feels alongside them. Emotional awareness and empathy are like a gentle river flowing through the landscape of human connection, nourishing every field it touches. With presence as the ground and listening as the seed, empathy is the water that helps trust and intimacy bloom. And when these flowers of understanding and compassion bloom, they contribute to an aura around you, an energy, a warmth that draws others in. It is the same warmth that radiates from those who carry natural charisma. In fact, empathy and authentic emotion form a large part of what we often call charisma, the next facet of the social art we are exploring. Charisma. The very word itself carries a kind of mystique. In its ancient Greek origin, charisma meant a divine gift of grace, an almost magical favor bestowed by the gods. When we talk about someone having charisma today, it still feels a bit like magic, as if they possess an unseen spark that others can't help but be drawn to. But what is this spark really? Strip away the mystique, and you find that charisma is the natural radiance of a person who is confident, genuine, and wholly engaged with the world around them. It is less about being born under a lucky star and more about cultivating certain qualities that anyone can nurture. You've likely witnessed the phenomenon. A person walks into a gathering, and the energy in the room subtly shifts. Conversations hush for a heartbeat, eyes glance over, and even without understanding why, people take notice. It isn't about flashy clothes, physical stature, or a booming voice. In fact, sometimes the most charismatic person is the one who speaks softly, yet everyone leans in to catch their words. Charisma is an aura, a presence amplified by an inner vitality. It's the combination of air warmth and confidence that makes others feel at ease in your company and inspired by your leadership at the same time. At the core of charisma lies authenticity. Truly charismatic individuals aren't wearing a mask. They are comfortable in their own skin, and that self-comfort invites others to be themselves as well. Think of a time you met someone who was unabashedly genuine. Perhaps they expressed joy without holding back, or admitted a flaw with a light heart and a smile. That kind of authenticity is disarming. It breaks through the usual social posturing. We find ourselves charmed by it, drawn to it, because deep down we all crave the freedom to be unapologetically ourselves. The charismatic person, by example, grants us that permission. Hand in hand with authenticity comes confidence. This isn't the brash, boastful confidence of ego, but a quiet self-assurance. It's the confidence of someone who knows their own worth without needing to shout about it. They carry themselves with an easy grace. Their posture is upright yet relaxed, their gestures natural and unforced. Such a person might say very little about themselves, and yet you sense a solidity in them, a self-trust that makes you inclined to trust them as well. This kind of confidence is infectious. It puts others at ease. In the presence of someone who is not anxious or self-doubting, you too feel a bit more confident and relaxed. It's as though their steadiness becomes your steadiness for the time you're together. Another vital strand in the tapestry of charisma is warmth. This is where the empathy we spoke of comes directly into play. Warmth is the genuine care and goodwill you project toward others. A charismatic individual often makes you feel not only noticed, but appreciated. They have a way of looking at you as if you are important, as if in that moment you are the only one that matters. This isn't manipulation or flattery. It comes from a real interest in people. Recall the skilled listeners and empathetic souls we discussed. Those qualities, when paired with confidence, create a person who draws others like a hearth fire on a cold night. People feel safe and seen in their presence, yet also uplifted by their enthusiasm or passion. Indeed, passion is frequently a hallmark of charisma. When someone speaks about what truly matters to them with fervour and heart, their passion lights a flame in the listener. Hand in hand with passion, many charismatic individuals carry a spark of playfulness, a warm sense of humour, not the kind that seeks attention or belittles others, but a genuine light-heartedness can be immensely charming. The ability to laugh, especially at one's own quirks or the little absurdities of life, puts people at ease. It signals, I am human, just like you. We can relax and enjoy this moment together. Such gentle humour can break tension and create a sense of camaraderie. Think of how a sincere, well-timed smile or chuckle from someone you admire instantly makes you feel more comfortable. That touch of lightness is often the secret sauce that makes charisma not only impressive, but also endearing. It's important to note that charisma comes in many flavors. There are the exuberant life-of-the-party types whose laughter fills the air and whose stories keep everyone riveted. But there are also the quiet, charismatic, those whose calm, thoughtful manner holds people spellbound in a different way. Imagine a wise storyteller by a campfire speaking in a low, gentle voice. Everyone around the flames is leaning in, hanging on every word, not because the storyteller is loud or theatrical, but because their words ring with truth and sincerity, delivered with a kind of confident calm. That too is charisma, the magnetic pull of authenticity and presence, whether wrapped in high energy or soft tranquility. Sometimes we confuse superficial charm with true charisma. Charm can be a learned technique, a dazzling smile, a compliment at the right moment, a firm handshake. Those things are fine social graces, but on their own they are surface level. True charisma runs deeper. It's not just how you act, but who you are, and how you make others feel at a fundamental level. A person with true charisma might not charm every person instantly. Instead, they create meaningful impressions that deepen with each interaction. While a charming person might impress you in a brief encounter, a charismatic person impacts you more profoundly. You walk away feeling better about yourself or more energized about life, even if you can't pinpoint exactly why. Historically, charismatic leaders and figures have changed the course of communities and nations. Many were not imposing in stature at all, but they carried a vision and a heartfelt conviction that others found irresistible. A small-framed lawyer in homespun clothes who led a nation to freedom through peaceful resistance. A simple nun in the slums radiating love that drew help from every corner of the world. A young woman who sparked a civil rights movement with a single, steadfast act of courage. None of these individuals were powerful in the conventional sense of wealth or weapons, yet their charisma, their profound combination of conviction, courage, and compassion, rallied hearts and changed history. These examples show that charisma isn't about showiness. It's about the light you kindle in others through the fire that burns in you. If you have ever thought, "I'm just not a charismatic person," consider that many charismatic figures in history and life did not start out commanding a stage. Charisma is not reserved only for the extroverted, the silver-tongued, or the naturally bold. It can bloom in the quiet, the introspective, and the humble. It grows from sincerity and passion, qualities any person can nurture. You don't have to change who you are fundamentally. True charisma actually comes from embracing who you are and sharing that authentic self warmly with others. A shy individual who learns to genuinely connect, to express their quietly burning passions, can be deeply charismatic in their own way. In fact, that gentle authenticity often touches people more deeply than any forced performance could. Can anyone develop charisma? To a large extent, yes, because it's built on skills and qualities we have been exploring: being present, listening, genuine empathy, and a confident sense of self. Charisma grows as you nurture your presence and empathy, as you align with your passions and values. Over time, You develop an energy about you that others can sense, a blend of mindfulness and enthusiasm, of caring and confidence. That energy is the essence of charisma's magnetism. In casual interactions, you might notice you start to hold people's attention more effortlessly. When you speak, even quietly, people turn an ear because they've come to expect you will offer something worth hearing. When you smile, it's genuine and reaches your eyes, and people smile back. When someone new meets you, they may quickly feel at ease and drawn to know you. These are subtle shifts that indicate a growing charismatic presence. At its heart, charisma is the outward shining of inner qualities. Just as a lamp shines light from the flame within, your presence, empathy, and confidence shine out as charisma, and much of this shine comes from the energy you radiate. We often describe a charismatic person as having a bright energy or a certain vibe. This leads us naturally to another subtle aspect of powerful human connection, the energy that flows between us and the energy we carry within ourselves. Every person carries an energy with them, a kind of invisible atmosphere that precedes and follows them wherever they go. Long before you utter a single word, this subtle energy broadcasts your inner state to those around you. Have you ever walked into a room after an intense argument took place and felt the tension hanging in the air? Or met someone new and inexplicably felt at ease or on edge around them without quite knowing why? These experiences hint at the truth that human connection operates not just through visible cues, but through an invisible exchange of energy or vibe that we continuously transmit and receive. Ancient cultures had various names for this phenomenon. Eastern traditions speak of chi or prana, a life force energy that flows through and around us. In many spiritual teachings, people are said to have an aura, a subtle field of energy that reflects their emotions and even intentions. Whether or not one takes these ideas literally, they point to a very real aspect of our experience. We feel each other on levels beyond logic. Modern science might frame it in terms of subconscious processing of micro-expressions, body language, and tones of voice. But to us, living our everyday lives, it often simply feels like intuition or atmosphere. We say, "She has such a positive vibe," or "There's something about him that feels heavy or unsettling." We've all felt it. Even physical spaces seem to absorb and reflect energy. Have you ever stepped into a quiet cathedral or a meditation hall and felt an immediate sense of peace wash over you? It's as though the walls themselves whisper of the many prayers, meditations, and gentle breaths taken there. Environments carry an emotional imprint, just as people do. In a home where laughter is frequent, you can almost sense the warmth in the air. In a house that has seen anger and sorrow, there may linger a heaviness. This too speaks to the unseen residue of human energy, accumulating and affecting all who enter. Think about the people in your life who uplift you just by being around. What is it about them? Perhaps they radiate a calm happiness or a playful enthusiasm. When you are with them, you find your own spirits lifted, almost as if you've stepped into a gentle, warm breeze that carries you along. Conversely, consider those who, even without intending, seem to carry a cloud of negativity. Maybe it's a coworker who often sighs and complains, and you notice everyone in the office feels drained after spending time with them. Or a friend who is frequently anxious, Over time, you start to feel on edge yourself when you're in their company. These are everyday illustrations of how one person's energy can ripple into others. Consider, for instance, a simple scenario in the workplace. On one morning, a team gathers for a meeting. The manager walks in with a spring in their step and a sincere smile on their face. The team members feel an instant lift. The room seems to brighten. People sit up a little straighter and conversation flows with optimism. Now imagine another day. The same manager enters visibly angry or stressed, slamming a notebook on the table as they arrive. Without a single word spoken, everyone senses the tension. Colleagues exchange cautious glances, the air feels thick and uneasy. The meeting that follows is strained and hesitant, all influenced by the leader's initial energy. We've all seen how the mood of one individual can set the tone for the whole group. Even children and animals, who often respond to energy more than words, can sense this difference. A shy child might instinctively drift toward an adult who radiates warmth and patience, feeling safe in their presence. A dog or cat may relax at the feet of someone with a calm, gentle energy, yet shy away from another person who is agitated or uneasy. These intuitive beings remind us that long before we speak, our being speaks for us. Cultivating a positive, authentic energy is thus a cornerstone of powerful connection. It doesn't mean you have to be perennially cheerful or put on a fake smile, regardless of how you feel. In fact, authenticity remains key. People can usually sense a forced positivity, and it often backfires, coming off as insincere. Instead, think of managing your energy as tending to a fire within you. What fuels are you adding to it? Our thoughts, our self-talk, our habits, all feed that inner flame. If you constantly feed yourself worry and anger, that fire will burn in agitated, smoky tones and give off a harsh heat that others shy away from. If you nurture it with gratitude, hope, and kindness, the flame glows warm and steady, drawing people as if to a comforting hearth. A practical aspect of this is emotional self-care. We all have bad days and low moments, and part of being human is honoring those feelings too. But when you're about to engage with others, it helps to take a brief check of your inner state. Are you carrying frustration from an earlier incident? Are you exhausted or scattered? Before stepping into a social space, even if it's just a phone call, you might take a moment to center yourself. Some people do this with a deep breath or two, or recalling something positive that brings a gentle smile. Others might say a quick personal affirmation or set an intention like, "I'm leaving the stress behind for now and bringing an open heart into this interaction." Some may put on a favorite song that lifts their spirits or step outside for a moment of fresh air and sunlight to reset their mood. These small rituals can significantly shift your energy. They're like wiping the dust off a mirror so that you can shine clearly. Another element of energy is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm in its root meaning comes from Greek entheos, having the divine within. It doesn't mean bouncing off the walls with excitement. It means being engaged, interested, alive. When you show enthusiasm in a conversation, maybe a genuine curiosity about what the other person is saying, or an excitement about a topic that lights you up, you infuse the interaction with vitality. Your energy says, "This moment matters. This exchange is life-affirming." And that is contagious. People respond to the energy you bring. They often mirror it. If you bring boredom or indifference, the connection will likely fizzle. If you bring respectful, positive attention, the connection will spark. It's also worth noting that energy isn't always about high spirits. There is also the energy of peace and calm, which is incredibly powerful in its own way. Think of someone with a truly calming presence, maybe a grandparent who could make you feel safe just by sitting beside you, or a friend who, when you're anxious, helps steady your nerves simply because they are so steady themselves. That tranquil energy can soothe others like a cool stream running through a hot field. Just by maintaining your own calm, you offer a refuge for others from the chaotic energies of life. Your energy is affected by your physical state too. Taking care of your health, getting enough rest, finding moments of joy, these things replenish your energy reserves. Have you noticed how much more patient and warm you are after a good night's sleep or when you're taking care of your well-being? It's all connected. The body and mind feed each other. A tense body can create tense energy. A relaxed body helps you emanate ease. As you become more conscious of energy, you might notice you can read a room better or sense how someone is feeling before they say a word. You start picking up on the subtle atmosphere of a gathering or the shift in tone when one particular person joins a group. This awareness can guide you in how you approach people. If you sense someone is fragile or upset, their energy low or jagged, you may bring a gentler, more compassionate presence to them. If you sense a room is dull or disengaged, you might enliven it with a friendly joke or an upbeat tone, effectively raising the energy. In this way, becoming attuned to energy turns you into a kind of conductor, subtly directing the emotional climate of your interactions for the better. At its heart, managing your energy and reading others' energy is about respect and empathy. It's recognizing that we are all connected by these unseen currents. Your mood doesn't exist in a vacuum. It can lift or weigh down those around you, and others' moods can influence you. By being mindful of this, you gain a quiet influence over the quality of your shared moments. You can choose to be the person who brings light to the room, who others feel relieved to encounter because you help them feel good. Over time, as you refine this skill, something intriguing happens. You develop a kind of intuitive radar for social situations and people. You start to trust subtle gut feelings about what's needed in a moment or what someone might not be saying out loud. You may not realize it, but this is the blossoming of your nahakor. Intuition, the next strand in the art of connection. It is that inner knowing that often guides you to be at the right place at the right time, or to say just the right thing that a friend needed to hear. Let us delve into this mysterious faculty of intuition and see how it interweaves with presence, empathy, and energy to deepen our human connections. There is a subtle guide within each of us, often described as intuition or the gut feeling. It whispers rather than shouts, nudges rather than pushes, yet its wisdom can be profound. In the context of human connection, intuition is that inner knowing of what to say or do, or what not to say or do in a given moment with someone. It's the sense that your friend who says, "I'm fine," is actually hurting inside, and the impulse to give them a gentle, "Are you sure?" I have a feeling something's on your mind. It's the inexplicable certainty that you should trust one job interviewer but be wary of another, despite their identical smiles and polite words. Intuition is like an unseen antenna tuning into truths that aren't immediately obvious. We often hear phrases like trust your gut or listen to your heart because throughout history people have recognized that logic alone doesn't have all the answers, especially when it comes to human relationships. Our ancestors survived not just by physical strength, but by keen instincts, sensing which strangers were friendly and which might be a threat, knowing when a child needed help, even if they were out of sight, discerning the right time to speak and when to remain silent. In traditional societies, intuition was respected as a form of intelligence. Elders spoke of paying attention to dreams, hunches, and the language of omens when making decisions. Today, we might not watch the flight of birds for guidance, but we still carry that ancient intuitive compass within our modern minds. Intuition in relationships often manifests as a physical sensation. Have you felt your stomach tighten when a conversation turns uncomfortable, even before anyone voices conflict? Or a sudden warmth in your chest when you're talking with someone and you both click on a deeper level? Some describe a chill up the spine when something is off about a situation or person, or a sense of lightness and ease when everything feels right. These bodily signals are the soul's shorthand, a quick message from your subconscious telling you things your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Our brains are remarkably adept at reading countless micro-expressions, tones, and situational cues, often without us realizing. Intuition distills that complex processing into a simple feeling, an urge, a hesitation, a spark of eagerness or caution. To develop intuition, the first step is to give it space and attention. In our highly analytical, noisy world, intuition is often drowned out by the constant chatter of thoughts and external information. Presence, the foundation we began with, is crucial here. The more you are able to quiet your mind and be in the moment, the more you will notice those subtle inner signals. Many people find that practices like meditation, prayer, or quiet time in nature help with this, calming the mental chatter and making space for intuition to surface. Some even keep a journal to note down their hunches or gut feelings and later reflect on them, learning over time what their intuitive voice sounds like. Listening deeply, not just to others but to yourself, allows intuition to surface. After an interaction, you might reflect, what vibes did I pick up? How did I feel around that person, and why might that be? Over time, you start noticing patterns. Perhaps you realize you often sense someone's mood accurately before they say a word, or that your first impression of situations tends to be correct. A beautiful aspect of intuition is how it can guide acts of kindness and connection. Maybe you feel a sudden urge to call a friend you haven't heard from in weeks, only to discover they were going through a tough time that day and really needed someone. Or you have a hunch to compliment a coworker on a job well done, and it turns out they were doubting themselves and your words give them a boost of confidence. When you follow positive intuitive impulses, you often find they lead to moments of meaningful synchronicity, those "I was just thinking about you" or how did you know I needed to hear that? Moments that make the fabric of connection feel almost magical. There are countless stories, often shared quietly between friends and families, about such intuitive bonds. A mother might wake up with a jolt in the dead of night, suddenly certain that her child needs help, and upon checking, finds the child indeed awake and distressed. Or perhaps you think of a dear friend out of the blue and feel compelled to reach out, only to discover they were in the midst of a personal crisis and your call provided much-needed comfort. These moments defy simple explanation, but they are not as rare as one might think. They suggest that our hearts and minds can be connected in ways that transcend distance and logic. Intuition is the thread weaving through these stories, a reminder that some part of us is always listening on a deeper frequency to those we love. Intuition also plays a key role in sensing boundaries and consent in interactions. For example, you might intuit that a usually talkative friend is quiet today, not because they are upset with you, but because they are lost in thought and need a bit of space. So you resist the urge to prod and instead offer a silent company, which is exactly what they appreciate. Or conversely, you sense that someone who says they're okay actually wants you to ask again or offer a hug, so you do, and they gratefully melt into the support. These fine discernments often happen beyond logical reasoning. They come from being attuned to subtle cues and truly caring about what those cues mean. It's worth noting that intuition, while powerful, is not infallible. Sometimes what we call intuition can be clouded by our own fears or biases. For instance, if you're very afraid of rejection, you might misread someone's neutral silence as dislike, when in reality they are just tired. Distinguishing true intuition from these projections is a learning process. True intuition tends to have a different feel. It's usually calm, clear, and persistent rather than anxious or dramatic. It's the quiet sense, not the loud internal voice of worry or desire. By cultivating emotional awareness, as we have, and self-knowledge, you can better tell when a gut feeling is coming from a place of insight versus a place of unresolved emotion. When intuition does speak, honoring it can lead to meaningful outcomes. How many times have we kicked ourselves thinking, "I knew I should have said something," or "I had a bad feeling about that but ignored it"? It's okay. Part of developing intuition is learning from those moments when we override it. They teach us to pay closer attention next time. Conversely, we all have memories of times we did trust our gut and it proved right, even if we couldn't explain it at the time. Those instances build our confidence in this internal guidance system. In a sense, intuition in social connection is like learning to dance with another's spirit. It's moving beyond the sheet music of explicit communication and into the improvised melody of each unique encounter. It might lead you to ask a question that ends up unlocking someone's enthusiasm, or to hold back from a joke because you sense it wouldn't land well with this particular audience. It might prompt you to share something vulnerable about yourself because you feel this person will understand, and that vulnerability deepens the friendship in ways logic could never plan for. Intuition often works hand in hand with empathy. The more you empathize and put yourself in another's shoes, the more your intuition about them sharpens. You start to just know what might comfort someone, or you have a hunch about what they truly yearn for under their words. At times it can feel almost like a gentle telepathy, not in the supernatural sense, but simply because you have become so adept at reading the signals and energies that you can anticipate needs and emotions. This fosters trust, as others sense you get them in a way few people do. An added gift of following your intuition is a growing sense of peace within yourself. Social interactions become less of a guessing game and more of a natural flow. You find you no longer replay every conversation worrying if you said the right thing, because you know you acted from a place of sincerity and inner guidance. This self-trust radiates outward as calm confidence. In this way, intuition not only strengthens your bonds with others, but also your relationship with your own inner voice. Now, imagine combining presence, listening, empathy, charisma, and energy awareness with this powerful intuition. You become a social navigator of sorts, able to sail the seas of interactions with a sure instinct for the winds and currents. This doesn't mean you'll never hit a storm or make a misstep. No one is perfect. But it means you have an inner compass that keeps you oriented toward true connection. One critical yet often overlooked dimension in the art and science of powerful human connections is nonverbal communication, the subtle language spoken not by words but by gestures, posture, facial expressions, and even micro-expressions. Nonverbal communication is the hidden conductor orchestrating the symphony of your interactions, communicating messages often far more honest and impactful than your spoken words. It is estimated that well over half of human communication is nonverbal, making your body language one of the most powerful tools in your social toolkit. Think of a time when someone said, "I'm fine," but their crossed arms, tense shoulders, and downcast eyes told a very different story. You trusted the signals of their body over their words because intuitively, you know the body rarely lies. Our bodies continuously broadcast our true emotions and intentions, even when our mouths are saying something entirely different. This innate transparency of the body is rooted in human biology. Our ancestors relied heavily on nonverbal cues to assess trustworthiness and danger, deeply embedding this capability into our evolutionary heritage. Learning to master your body language begins with self-awareness. Just as presence starts in your breath and stance, so too does effective nonverbal communication. Begin by observing yourself in daily interactions. Do you habitually cross your arms defensively, or do you keep your posture open, inviting interaction? Do your eyes wander distractedly, or do you maintain gentle, engaged eye contact? Small shifts in these behaviors profoundly impact how others perceive you. Developing this awareness can be enhanced through mindful practices such as meditation or intentional reflection on your interactions at the end of each day. Eye contact, in particular, is a powerful channel of nonverbal communication. When you look into someone's eyes sincerely and calmly, you communicate confidence, honesty, and respect. You show that you have nothing to hide, creating an atmosphere of trust and mutual understanding. Conversely, avoiding eye contact can convey insecurity, indifference, or even dishonesty, often creating unnecessary barriers and misunderstandings. Furthermore, The duration and intensity of your eye contact also communicates subtle nuances of intention and interest. Balancing direct gaze with occasional natural breaks ensures comfort and authenticity for both parties. Consider posture and proximity. Standing or sitting straight, with shoulders relaxed and facing the person you're interacting with, conveys openness, attentiveness, and genuine interest. Leaning slightly towards someone as they speak indicates that you value their words and presence, actively encouraging them to continue. However, maintaining an appropriate distance is equally important. Too close, and you risk causing discomfort or perceived intrusion. Too distant, and you suggest aloofness or disinterest. Finding this balance requires intuition, sensitivity to cultural norms, and empathetic understanding of individual comfort zones. Facial expressions are another critical aspect of nonverbal communication. Your face is the canvas of your emotions. It's constantly expressing subtle cues about how you feel. Genuine smiles that reach the eyes communicate warmth, friendliness, and sincerity, making others feel safe, welcomed, and valued. Conversely, forced smiles or expressions inconsistent with your spoken words can cause confusion or mistrust. When people sense a mismatch between your facial expressions and your spoken words, their subconscious minds flag the interaction as potentially untrustworthy or insincere, creating subtle but real barriers to connection. Another subtle yet impactful aspect of nonverbal communication is mirroring. This unconscious imitation of another person's posture, gestures, or tone of voice often occurs naturally when people feel connected or aligned emotionally. You can consciously harness this phenomenon to deepen rapport and build trust. For instance, subtly matching a friend's relaxed posture or a colleague's speaking pace can foster feelings of similarity, empathy, and mutual understanding. It's crucial, however, that this mirroring remains subtle and sincere. Overt mimicry can come across as manipulative or disingenuous. Gestures also speak volumes. Open palms typically communicate honesty, transparency, and openness, while clenched fists, fidgeting, or excessive hand movements might suggest nervousness, tension, or discomfort. Being mindful of your gestures, choosing calm and deliberate movements rather than hurried or jerky ones, can significantly enhance your overall presence and influence. When your gestures align harmoniously with your words, they reinforce your message, making your communication clearer, more impactful, and memorable. Voice tone and pace are equally powerful nonverbal communicators. A calm, steady voice often conveys confidence, stability, and reliability, while rapid, high-pitched, or hesitant speech might communicate uncertainty, anxiety, or insecurity. Similarly, a soft, warm voice can soothe, comfort, and invite trust, whereas a loud or sharp tone may unintentionally convey aggression, dominance, or insensitivity. Being attentive to your voice allows you to manage your emotional energy effectively, ensuring your tone matches your intentions and your interactions leave a positive, lasting impression. Understanding the interplay of these nonverbal elements can transform your interactions from ordinary exchanges to profound, meaningful connections. It's worth noting that interpreting body language in others also requires caution and humility. A gesture or expression can have different meanings depending on context, individual differences, cultural backgrounds, and personal experiences. Thus, nonverbal communication is best approached with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to understand rather than rigid assumptions or judgments. A critical skill here is the ability to observe without judgment. When interacting with others, especially in sensitive or emotionally charged conversations, notice their nonverbal cues, and rather than immediately concluding their intentions, use those cues as gentle prompts to inquire further. For example, if a friend appears tense or uncomfortable, gently acknowledging what you perceive, "You seem a bit uneasy. Is everything all right?" opens pathways for deeper understanding, support, and genuine connection. Finally, mastering your nonverbal communication is deeply tied to authenticity. People instinctively detect inconsistencies between your body language and spoken words. Authentic nonverbal communication flows naturally when you are genuinely present, empathetic, and aligned with your true feelings and intentions. By being honest with yourself about your emotional state and motivations, you naturally project congruent nonverbal signals, building greater trust, credibility, and meaningful relationships with others. Integrating the mastery of nonverbal communication into your repertoire as a social architect profoundly enhances your overall presence and social effectiveness. It amplifies your empathy, strengthens your charisma, and deepens your intuitive connections with others. Effective nonverbal communication becomes a foundational pillar in your ability to influence and inspire, ensuring your interactions resonate authentically with those around you. This prepares the stage perfectly for the next exploration in your journey, the gentle yet potent art of influence. When you follow your authentic intuition in guiding conversations and relationships, something beautiful happens. Influence emerges naturally. Instead of forcing your will or trying to control outcomes, you are flowing with the deeper currents of understanding. People are far more likely to be moved by someone who seems to just understand them and who acts in ways that feel right, rather than someone who is simply pushing an agenda. Thus, intuition paves the way for the kind of influence that feels like a gentle guiding star rather than a pushy spotlight. Influence is often imagined as a force one person exerts over another, but in the realm of deep human connection, true influence is less of a force and more of a resonance. It isn't about strong-arming or manipulating someone to do what you want. It's about inspiring them to align with you willingly because they trust you and feel understood by you. By now, through presence, listening, empathy, charisma, and intuition, you have built a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Influence is the natural extension of that foundation. It is what allows your ideas, your requests, and your guidance to carry weight in the hearts and minds of others. Think of someone in your life whose opinions you truly value. Perhaps it's a mentor or a dear friend. When they suggest you try something or offer you advice, you give it real consideration, don't you? You might even follow their suggestion eagerly. Why? Likely because you feel they genuinely understand you and have your best interests at heart. Their influence over you doesn't come from their job title or any authority. It comes from the trust and rapport you share. This is the essence of influence rooted in connection. Throughout history, The most influential leaders were not those who ruled by fear alone, but those who touched people's hearts. Consider the great orators and change makers. They often began by painting a vision that resonated deeply with people's hopes and needs. They spoke with passion, charisma, and compassion, empathy. They listened to the concerns of their followers and addressed them, making each person feel seen. Because of this, when they called for action or change, people followed, not out of compulsion, but out of shared conviction. Influence was a byproduct of trust and understanding. In ancient Greece, Aristotle taught that persuasion, and by extension influence, has three pillars: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is the credibility and character of the speaker. Essentially, do people trust you? Pathos is the emotional connection. Are you speaking to their hearts and values? Logos is the logical argument, the reasoning behind your message. Notice how two of those three, ethos and pathos, are rooted in connection and emotion rather than pure logic. What Aristotle observed over 2,000 years ago aligns perfectly with what we are exploring. Unless people trust you and feel a connection, the best logic in the world may fall on deaf ears. Conversely, if you have earned their trust and touched their emotions, even a modest suggestion can move mountains. So how does one apply influence in a way that is positive and mutually empowering? It often starts small and sincere. Maybe you recognize a talent in a friend that they themselves doubt, and you gently encourage them to pursue it. Because you have listened to them and empathized with their fears, you frame your encouragement in a way that speaks to them. I remember you mentioned you feel happiest when painting. I really think you have something special, and it would be wonderful to see you give it more time. Such a suggestion isn't an order, it's an invitation. And because it comes from someone who gets them, they are more likely to take it to heart. In this way, your influence helps someone grow in a direction they already inwardly wanted to go. Influence can also emerge in moments of crisis or decision. Imagine a team at work facing a tough challenge and uncertainty fills the air. A person who has built goodwill through their presence and listening might speak up to rally the team. I know we're all feeling the pressure. I've been hearing everyone's concerns, and I truly believe we have the creativity and strength in this room to turn this around if we support each other. Let's brainstorm solutions together. Such words can galvanize the group, not because they are magic, but because the person speaking has credibility. Everyone knows they've been attentive and fair, and emotional attunement. They voiced exactly what others were feeling. The influence here is about focusing and elevating the group's own energies and hopes. It's leadership arising naturally from connection. It's crucial to distinguish this kind of influence from mere manipulation. Manipulation is covert and self-serving. It tries to trick or pressure someone into an action that mainly benefits the manipulator, often at the expense of genuine respect. The kind of influence we speak of is transparent and rooted in goodwill. It seeks win-win outcomes. If you guide a friend or colleague toward a decision, it's because you truly believe it will help them or serve a greater good, not just you, and you remain open, respecting their free will. If they choose otherwise, you honor that. that respect further deepens trust because people sense when they are being given a choice rather than a command. One of the beautiful aspects of influence born from empathy and authenticity is that it can transform conflicts into collaborations. When disagreements arise, a person with this influence doesn't bulldoze their way through. Instead, they acknowledge the differing viewpoints and use understanding to find common ground. For example, in a family dispute, instead of saying, "We're doing it my way because I said so," an influential connector might say, "I see why you feel strongly about this, and I feel strongly too. We both care about what's best. Let's figure out a solution together." This inclusive approach can soften resistance. Others feel that their perspective is valued, and so they become more open to hearing yours. Often they will meet you halfway, or even fully embrace your suggestion, because you created a space where it felt like our idea, not just yours. Even ancient wisdom echoes this truth. Lao Tzu, the Chinese sage, wrote that the best leaders are those whose presence is barely noticed. When their work is done, people all say, "We did it ourselves." In other words, the highest form of influence empowers others so completely that they feel the result was their own. When you influence through understanding, you're not coercing. You're collaborating in the truest sense. Real influence often operates quietly. You might not even realize the extent to which you're influencing others as you cultivate these qualities. You'll notice perhaps that people start coming to you for advice or input more frequently, or a friend mentions that something you said a while back really stuck with them and changed their outlook. Or you find that when you propose a get-together or a project, people are enthusiastic to join, trusting it will be a positive experience because you are involved. These are signs of influence in action, others gravitating toward your leadership or guidance, not because you demand it, but because it feels right to them. Consider family life. A parent who truly listens to their child and shows them respect often finds that the child, in turn, values the parent's guidance deeply. Rather than obeying out of fear, the child responds out of trust. They carry their parents' words in their heart. A simple conversation at bedtime where the parent empathizes and gently advises can shape the child's mindset and choices for years to come. In the classroom, a teacher who treats students with genuine care and interest, who creates a safe space for them to express themselves, is remembered and honored by those students. Such a teacher can spark a love of learning or a confidence in one's abilities that influences the entire trajectory of a young person's life. These quiet daily moments of influence born from trust and connection are perhaps even more impactful than any grand speech or public gesture. Influence also has a ripple effect. When you treat people with respect, listen to them, and lead by example, you indirectly encourage them to do the same with others. Your way of being can influence the social norms around you. In a workplace, one empathetic and present leader can shift the entire culture over time, as colleagues emulate that style and the whole team becomes more collaborative and supportive. In a circle of friends, one person who consistently brings positive energy and understanding can elevate the quality of interactions for everyone. With influence comes a certain responsibility. People will take your words to heart, so it becomes important that you speak with integrity. Fortunately, if you've been building authentic connection, integrity is almost a given. You're already focusing on honesty and genuine care, but it's worth remaining mindful. The more people trust and listen to you, the more carefully you should handle their trust. Influence is not about ego, it's about service. A truly influential person measures their success not by how many people they can direct, but by how many people they can help empower. Imagine at this point that you are like a social architect who has designed and reinforced a beautiful bridge between yourself and others, a bridge built on trust, respect, and understanding. When you stand on that bridge and extend your hand, people cross over gladly, meeting you in the middle. That hand could be an idea, an invitation, or guidance. And because the bridge is strong, they know it's safe to step forward with you. This is influence, a mutual path created through connection. As you embrace this role, you might notice something almost paradoxical. The less you focus on trying to influence and the more you focus on caring and connecting, the more influential you actually become. Influence finds you, in a sense, as a natural consequence of your personal growth and the genuine bonds you nurture. Think of what you've cultivated so far. By being present, you ground yourself and offer genuine attention. By listening, you tune into others and make them feel valued. By practicing emotional awareness and empathy, you open your heart and truly understand people. Through charisma, you express your authentic self with confidence and warmth. By minding your energy, you set the emotional tone and create a positive atmosphere. With intuition, you navigate interactions with inner wisdom. And through influence, you encourage and inspire others to act from their best selves. Each of these elements reinforces the others. Now we arrive at the culmination of all these pieces: presence, listening, empathy, charisma, energy, intuition, and influence, coming together in a kind of symphony. This is the emergence of a magnetic presence, a state where the connections you forge become lasting and the impact you have on others becomes truly profound. It is the state of being that makes you not only memorable, but a guiding light in the social world around you, drawing others toward positive growth and deeper connection. What does it feel like to become truly magnetic in your presence? It's as if all the threads of connection we've explored are now woven together into a radiant tapestry that you carry with you. People may not be able to pinpoint exactly what it is about you that draws them in, but they feel it. It's in the way you move through a room with ease and attentiveness, the genuine smile that warms your face when greeting others, the calm confidence in your voice, and the kindness and curiosity in your eyes. Your presence says, "I am here with you," and that message resonates without a single conscious thought. When you reach this level of integrated connection, you become, in a sense, magnetic. Not in a flashy look-at-me way, but in a subtle, profound way that touches people's humanity. You might notice that strangers strike up conversations with you more often, sensing a friendly aura. Friends seek you out not just when they need help, but to share their joys, because being around you amplifies the good times as well. In group settings, your ideas get heard and remembered. When conflict arises, you are the calming influence that gently steers things toward understanding. You may even hear it in their words. A coworker might comment how your calm energy makes team meetings less stressful, or a friend may admit that talking with you always lifts their spirits. These little comments are reflections of the comfort and trust you inspire. There is a quiet glow about you, the light of someone who is comfortable in their own skin and compassionate toward others. Remember the scenario we imagined at the very beginning. That person who walked into a room and everyone felt their presence as something special. By cultivating these qualities, you become that person. But unlike the mysterious pull that seemed inexplicable back then, now you understand the elements that create it. It's not sorcery or luck. It's the cumulative effect of presence, empathy, genuine interest, confident authenticity, mindful energy, and attuned intuition. These are the invisible strands of your social DNA that combined emit a kind of gravitational field. Just as the sun doesn't need to announce its warmth yet planets orbit around it, a magnetic individual doesn't need to demand attention or proclaim their influence. It simply happens as a natural response to who they are. Take a moment to envision this reality. Picture yourself stepping into a gathering, perhaps a reunion with friends or a meeting at work. As you enter the space, you notice the warm light and soft buzz of conversation around you. You carry no anxiety about how you'll be received. You are calm and present. Notice how people turn toward you with smiles, how a friend instantly waves you over, and how at ease you feel walking in. You embrace a loved one or shake a colleague's hand, looking them in the eye with warmth. You genuinely ask, "How are you?" and truly listen to the answer, and you see their shoulders relax, their smile broaden. In the discussion that follows, you're engaged and attentive. When you speak, you do so from the heart, and you see a few heads nod in agreement. Your words resonate. If a tense topic comes up, you respond with empathy, and the tension dissipates. Others follow your lead into calmer waters. By the time the gathering ends, you've shared laughter, offered support, and perhaps learned something new about those around you. On your way out, someone comments, "I'm so glad you came," because your presence genuinely added something special. Hold this image for a moment. This is you, radiating the quiet yet powerful magnetism you've worked to cultivate. This isn't a far-off dream. It's a reflection of your capacity in the here and now, growing with every step you take on this journey. This magnetic presence has a ripple effect that extends far beyond individual interactions. When you carry yourself with this kind of awareness and goodwill, you become a beacon in your community, however large or small that community may be. Your co-workers might find that meetings with you leave them energized rather than drained. Your family members may feel more at peace in your company, opening up in ways they never did before. Acquaintances sense they can be themselves around you, because your non-judgmental acceptance creates a safe haven. In a world where so many people feel unseen and unheard, a truly magnetic presence is as nourishing as water in the desert. It draws people out of their shells and into the warmth of genuine connection. There is a kind of mystery to this, in the sense that no matter how well we break down the components, presence, listening, empathy, and so forth, The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The effect you have on others when you truly embody these qualities transcends any checklist of behaviors. It touches something soul to soul. You may never fully know the extent of your impact, and that's okay. Connection isn't meant to be quantified, it's meant to be experienced and cherished. Someone might remember a single conversation with you for years, replaying the moment they felt truly understood, and you might have considered it just a normal chat. To you, it was simply being present and kind, but to them, it was life-changing. That is the quiet yet powerful magic of a magnetic presence. Many spiritual traditions tell of individuals whose presence was so profound that it transformed those around them without a word spoken. Stories abound of sages or saints who could walk into a hostile gathering and merely by their calm compassion turn anger into reconciliation. It is said that in the company of such people, even wild animals would become gentle, sensing the peace in the atmosphere. While you need not be a saint or sage to touch lives deeply, these tales remind us of the immense potential of a human heart tuned to understanding. They are extreme examples of what is possible when one embodies pure presence and love. A beacon so strong that it illuminates even the darkest of situations. Along with this magnetism, often comes a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment for you, the one cultivating it. As you focus on lifting others, you find yourself lifted. The more warmth and understanding you give, the more your own heart overflows with contentment. You start to feel deeply connected not just to individuals, but to humanity as a whole. In becoming someone that others trust and value, you reaffirm your own value in the grand web of relationships. It's the opposite of the loneliness or disconnection that plagues so many. It is a sense of belonging wherever you go, because you carry connection within you and create it around you. Think of yourself now as the social architect we invoked in our title. You have learned to design interactions and shape the emotional landscapes around you intentionally and artfully. You lay strong foundations of presence with each encounter, ensuring others feel seen. You raise pillars of empathy and listening to support the structure of understanding between you and another. You carve out doorways of vulnerability and authenticity where true heart-to-heart communication can enter, and you illuminate the space with the light of your positive energy and intuition so that it is warm and inviting. The connections you build are like halls within a great, welcoming home, each conversation a room filled with its unique decor of shared memories and mutual respect. Over time, this metaphorical house of connection becomes a cathedral, vast, intricate, and filled with the echoes of laughter, confidences, encouragements, and even shared silences that you have fostered. It stands on the firm ground of your character and radiates the beauty of all the lives that have touched yours and been touched in return. This structure is invisible to the eye, yet very real in the hearts of people around you. It is your legacy of human connection. As you move forward from here, remember that this journey is a lifelong one. Even the most magnetic and socially skilled among us are forever learning, adapting, and growing. Each new person you meet, each new situation you encounter, is an opportunity to practice and deepen these arts. You will have days when you feel out of sync or less connected. That's part of being human. But now you have the awareness and tools to return to center. Take a breath. Remember to be present. Listen with an open heart. Tune in to your empathy and intuition. The beauty of these skills is that they self-replenish. The more you practice them, the more natural they become, and the more nourishment you get back from the meaningful interactions that result. In closing, consider this. The art and science of powerful human connections ultimately teaches us that we are not separate islands, but an interconnected ocean of beings yearning to be seen and understood. By becoming a social architect, you are choosing to bridge the gaps between those islands, to build bridges where others might erect walls. You are creating gentle pathways for love, trust, and understanding to flow. In an era when divisiveness often dominates headlines and digital chatter, this kind of bridge building is more vital than ever. It is a quiet form of everyday peacemaking that reminds us that unity is crafted person by person, moment by moment. When you eventually look back on your own journey, it won't be the number of tasks you finished or the size of your bank account that warms your heart. It will be the people, the connections, the memories of understanding and care. Those moments of genuine human bond are the true treasures of a life. And now you hold the keys to create many more of them. Even as you look up at the night sky, it's the connections between stars that form meaningful constellations. In the same way, the relationships you nurture give shape and meaning to your world. You are no longer that second person who slips away unnoticed. Instead, you are the one who lights up the room in your own gentle way, the one who leaves others feeling a little brighter and a little more hopeful for having met you. So step into your magnetic presence with humility, grace, and an open heart. There is no need to rush. Connection unfolds in its own time. Trust the work you've done on yourself and the natural warmth of your heart. Know that in a world that often feels fragmented, you have the quiet power to foster unity and understanding, one interaction at a time. This power is both ancient and fresh, mysterious and yet rooted in everyday human truth. And whenever you find yourself in doubt, you can return to this narrative, this exploration, and be reminded of the timeless principles that guide the dance of connection. Let it inspire you anew, like returning to a favorite grove of wise old trees that have silently witnessed countless seasons of change. Each visit may reveal something different, a new insight, a deeper understanding, even though the grove itself is ever present. Your journey as a social architect is just beginning, and it's an adventure that will last a lifetime. Go forth and build connections that light the way for yourself and others, knowing that through this process, you are part of an eternal human story of love, understanding, and transformation.